Okay, so let's begin with a mindfulness practice because that's what we're doing. We're doing mindfulness. So good to start with it, right? We're going to start with 3 deep breaths, which is always a good thing to start with a mindfulness practice. And then we're going to go into about a 6, 7 minute meditation. And I don't know, maybe some of you have never really done that kind of thing before. So don't worry, it's all going to be good. If you start to levitate and fly away, that's a normal thing. Just kidding. All right, let's put 2 feet firmly on the ground. And we're going to take in a nice deep breath in through the nose, breathing in. And slowly exhaling it out the nostrils with control. Breathing in again through the nose. Slowly exhaling out the nose with control. And last big breath in through the nose. Opening the mouth, gently sigh the breath out. Coming now to a natural breath, if you can, breathing through the nose. So the breath is our anchor that grounds us into this moment. We use the breath to be present. Breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. And breathing out, I know that I'm breathing out. Feel the cooler air coming in and the warmer air going out. And rest your mind. Come home to your breath. There's nowhere to go and there's nothing else to do. It's just this breath and that breath. If your mind tends to wander, and it will, it's okay, it's normal. Gently bring it back to the object, which is your breathing. I say gently. All right, let's end this practice with a nice deep breath in through the nose once again, if you can. And sigh the breath out the mouth. And gently opening the eyes. So happy to be here with all of you tonight. We are missing one or two people. They did send their apologies. They couldn't make the first class, but that's fine. Going to catch them up in the week. This is class 1, and it's a long journey. Some of us are in it for the 8 weeks, and some of us are in it for the 13 or 14 weeks. And some are doing it again, and some have heard about it for a long time and have been curious, and others I don't know, and I know that we're going to be good friends through this. We're going to make good friends throughout this process. So I thought maybe just quickly we could check in and find out how you guys are doing today. And I'm going to show you how that looks on a scale of 1 to 10, right? What number would you give yourself today? So I'm giving myself an 8 out of 10. I'm not a 10 out of 10 because I've got a bit of a cold, but I think this morning I just had a good morning. I had a session with Varuna, and then I had a session with Apsa, and Oriel was on it. And no, I first had a set. Yeah, what's today? Thursday. Yes. And Oriel, you were in that one. No, you weren't. Yes? No? Can't remember. Of course you were.
Yes, I was.
Of course you were.
I still got lunch.
Yes, you got lunch. Of course you were. I'm getting my days mixed up. And Varuna, and I saw you guys earlier today, and it's been a good day because we had some good sessions. I had some good sessions, and I'm about an 8 out of 10. Just dosed myself up with some vitamins and whatnot to try and get rid of the dreaded lurgy. But I'd like to check in with you. What's your number today? And I'm going to start with Kerry.
Hi. I'd say it's a 7. I also had a very good day. Towards the end of it, the principal of the school where I work came in, and he and I don't always see eye to eye, and he sort of blustered off, and I just sat and said, yes, sir, yes, sir. And so when he left, it took me a couple of minutes to kind of just remind myself that we have a difference of opinion, and that's all good. But just before that had happened, I noticed this tickle in my nose. And I haven't been sick for a couple of years, so it's quite strange. And I think it is affecting my energy a little bit. But yeah, nothing really negative about the day. Yeah.
Cool, Kegs. Thanks. If you ever need any help with the principal, I've got some Lebanese cousins that can come over and visit. Just kidding.
I'll keep that in mind.
If anything happens to him, you've got it on film, so I could be in big trouble. Just kidding. Thanks, Kegs. Stefan, I'm going to ask you. It's so nice to see another man on the call. Welcome, brother. What is your number
Thank
today?
you. 8.
Yeah,
Because it's not about what's happening, it's about my attitude towards it. So I think I sometimes experience moments of ungratefulness. Then it's not a 10 as it should be for all of us, I think. That's
Yeah.
my view, that's my view. So it's not about the struggles of the day, it's about my attitude towards it, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
So I sometimes forget. For today I forgot a few times to be grateful. So but it's actually a 10, but sometimes it feels like an 8.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just lots of stuff happening, and then I'm not focused and connected as I wish I would always be. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'm really glad to know that you're in Centurion because that means I can get on my motorbike and we can go for a ride.
Yeah, we can get on our motorbikes and go for the ride.
Exactly, exactly. I was
Yeah,
thinking
yeah,
you're
that's my happy place.
happy. Yeah, my happy place too.
Yeah,
Thanks, Stefan.
thank you.
Solid 8, and I love what you say, right? It's your attitude. It's so true. Uh, I'm going to move over to Kiasha, who's snuggled in bed. That's why there's no camera on. How are you today, Kiasha? What's your number?
Hi, Mark. I think I'll probably be a 7. Had a really chilled day with my brother. Didn't really do much, but not a 10 because I am also getting a bit sick. Missing mom a bit.
Yeah, she's in Holland,
And
right?
no, she's gone for work to Amsterdam.
Yeah, yeah, nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and I started some new meds that's making me a little bit foggy. So not feeling a 10, but definitely
Yeah.
a 7.
Okay, my darling. Well, it's so nice that you're here, and it's about
Thank
time.
you for having me.
It's about time. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see, Oriel. Let's check in with you today. I know you had a rough day, friend. Are you hanging on?
Yeah, no. So excuse that the camera's off. We're just having a bit of issues with fiber in the area. So if I
Okay,
put it on, the signal is dropping here.
sure.
I'll say I'm a 6. I'm extremely exhausted. So just to get the others up to date, I've had back-to-back meetings since 9 o'clock till 4 o'clock. I started the day with Mark with our Thriving Circles with APSA. So it started my day off well. I'm ending with Mark with my mindfulness. So I'm very grateful for that. It's grounding me. I'm also recovering from flu/sinuses that I've had since Jan, and
Oi,
I'm only starting to feel better now. So I'm very grateful for that. Yes, and also I'm very grateful for the voucher, Mark. You saved me from making supper. So yes, very grateful today.
a nice lunch voucher. Well, a dinner voucher by the sounds of it.
Yes,
It's my
but
pleasure.
thanks so much.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks, Oriel. Well, I'm glad you made it. I mean, Oriel, wow, we started the day together in a session and ending the day, and very dedicated, very passionate about mental wellness and mindfulness, Oriel. So very honored to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Mark.
And then Varuna. Hi, Varuna. Last minute
Hi.
invite, and Varuna said, well, obviously she's here. How are you today, friend? Is she frozen or is it just me? She was
I think she's frozen.
okay. Otherwise, she's in meditation with a big smile. She's just meditating. Oh, my word. Okay, hopefully she'll come back in and unfreeze. As we wait for Varuna, let's move to Antoinette. Antoinette, what's your number today? Welcome, friend. Good to see you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's so lovely to be here again. My number is 8 and it's stretching up to 9. In fact, I'm really feeling good at the moment. I'm so grateful for it. I remember last year when I was doing the training with you, I was going through so much. And almost every time that we met up, I was a 5 or a 4 or a
Remember.
6. Yeah, and it's just going really well at the moment with my mental health, and I think that's the main one. My mental health is strong, and things are going well with the business. I won't say money wise, but flow wise, everything is in flow, and that makes me so happy, and the other thing I was saying to a friend Nana was basically that I've made the connection that And it just happened the other day, and I don't know what sparked it, but this came from me. I didn't hear it somewhere. I might have, but it clicked in for me, was that I'm feeling so happy because I've realized that everything that I'm doing is in service of other people. So the products that I'm producing they bring joy to other people, and that makes me so happy. So there's been a shift from when you are strapped for money and you have gone through a breakup and things are going terrible with your ex. I mean, we've all been there. The mindset can be just completely wrong. And I think I was for a long time working just to get the benefits for myself. And now there's been that switch of actually what I'm doing is to bring joy to others. And that brings a tremendous amount of joy to me as being. Like, I get up in the morning sun, I go like, okay, you know what? I'm not getting up because flip, I need to make 10 rand today to put petrol in my car. I'm getting up because someone needs my product, because it's going to bring them joy. So I don't know, that makes me, at the moment, I'm just consumed with how happy it makes me to live my life. And I hope that I can remember that and not go to sleep around that at some stage, because we go through these dips, right?
Yeah, wonderful.
So yeah.
I love that, bringing joy to others and how that makes you happy. So true that, and your work is extremely rewarding and very profound, I must say. I'm sure everyone's going to get to know more of your work as we go along.
Sure, Mark, but I think all of us, whether you produce a plastic packet, if that's going to help someone to carry their veggies home, you're like in service of someone, or many people actually. And if you can remember that, like that, what we're doing is being in service of people around us. And then it's almost like that, in Japan, when they don't mess in Japan, and if there is a mess or litter, they pick it up because they make beautiful for other people, like then that brings joy to you. So there's something there. Anyway, thank you for asking.
Reminds me of that quote by Khalil Gibran, work is love made visible. And sometimes we forget that as well. Thanks, Antoinette. Veruna, sorry, you just started and then you froze and you had the smile on your face, but the smile
I'm so
wasn't going away.
sorry. I have no idea. This happens to me all the time. I think I'm also having some fiber issues.
Okay.
So I think I'd give myself a 7. I'm also a little bit exhausted, feeling a little bit burnt out. Been burning the midnight oil for quite a while now, but I am still grateful. I just feel like I need to recharge.
Well, I'm happy you're here, my sidekick.
Yeah, your sidekick. Happy to be a sidekick.
Absolutely. It's a long story. We'll let you know, guys. But yeah, welcome, Veruna, and I hope you enjoyed tonight. I think we've checked in with everyone. Checking in is a very important part of the process, and this is what we're going to be doing every week. Before every class, we're going to check in with each other. And not just to check in about sort of a group therapy kind of thing. I'm not interested in that, right? You can go to your therapist for that. We're not here to offer you therapy. We want to check in around your homework, because every week you're going to get a homework practice. You're going to get a meditation practice. You're going to get daily mindfulness practices, okay, which are not necessarily a formal meditation, because mindfulness is something outside of meditation as well as incorporated into meditation. All right, and we're going to explore why and how that looks. We're going to be doing a journal homework practice as well. So you're going to get like 2-3 minutes or 4 minutes before the session starts to tell us how your practice is going. And a lot of you will bring your week in and you'll say, oh, it's been a busy week and I didn't manage to do my meditation on Tuesday. And at that point, that's when I start shouting and screaming and swearing. No, just kidding. Just kidding. But, I think what I'd like to get us into is that we are all accountable to each other. So it's going to require a little bit of homework. It's going to require a little bit of work on your side, and then to be accountable to everybody else on the group for that. Okay? Don't be afraid. It's not a lot of work. It's like 10, 15 minutes of meditation a day, a little bit of a journal thing, and a mindful coffee here and a mindful meal there, and wash your hands, and it's all sort of tied into it. Antoinette knows it didn't take up too much of your time. And then if you guys decide to do the teacher training part, then that's where you put together your own teach back session. And it's 30 minutes where you teach us. And that's cool, because then I just sit back with my clipboard and you get to turn to present what you want to present. And I'll give you a format for that. By the end of the 8 weeks, you'll know exactly what to do for that. Those of you that are doing the teacher training part. And that's always the fun part, because it gets really creative. And, anyway, but for 8 weeks, you've got me, and it's very engaging. It's very interactive. So it's not just me, blah, blah. It's also your comments, your insight, and your questions around it. Okay. I do have a few slides that I wanted to share with you. So, Oriel, I do apologize. I know your competitor is displayed on the slide, First Rand. Not sure if it's a competitor to PPS, probably is. But First Rand was the first organization to adopt the teacher training, the mindfulness teacher training. I'll tell you a bit of history. The teacher training started in 2016. I've been teaching mindfulness for 22 years now, and meditation, mainly meditation, then mindfulness. And then I lived in a Buddhist temple for 3 years in Johannesburg. Before that, I traveled. I did a year of backpacking across India and the Himalayas, where I was very fascinated with yoga and Hinduism and Buddhism. And I lived in a Buddhist temple, and I thought, it's awesome. And I was teaching there Buddhism, and I still teach Buddhism, but I thought to myself, I don't want to convert people to Buddhism. I'd rather encourage people to understand the workings of their brain and how mindfulness can help. Because it helped me a lot when I was in my early 20s. In my early 20s, I was friendly with Kerry, who's on the call. And we used to work together in a video shop in Bruma, actually, Kerry and I. And every now and again, we would sneak a Long Island iced tea when we got bored in the evenings. It was fun. But one day when I came home from work, I found that my father had died from suicide. And it was a very bad day. And he had mental health issues. A year before that, he suffered from depression, schizophrenia, and bipolar. And then he took his life. He attempted suicide twice. First time I saved him. Second time I couldn't. And then my mental health was very bad after that. And I'd always suffered from panic and anxiety attacks. But then it got worse. I was having 10 to 15 panic attacks a day. And I'd started my career in advertising. I was working on the Pick and Pay account for an agency called Young and Rubicam at that time. Pick and Pay is a big account, in those days. Still is. And I was very anxious. It was a very difficult job. I was very inexperienced. I didn't know what I was doing, and I was very anxious. So my panic attacks would take the form of vomiting and couldn't breathe, and I was having them regularly. I'd open my eyes in the morning and I'd get sick, and I was pretty much nauseous for the entire day. And my mom obviously wanted me to take medication, antidepressants, whatever my father was taking. And I said, no, I don't want to, because it didn't work for my father. Every morning he had a handful of pills Prozac, Prothidin, lithium, the whole bang scaboodle, and it did nothing for him. So I said, no, I want to try something different. So I was really lucky. I came across a lady who taught me breath work and meditation. And she said to me, no more alcohol, no more marijuana. And how much coffee do you drink a day? I said, nine cups of coffee with 3 spoons of coffee in each. And she said, no, that's terrible. That's causing you major anxiety. Stop the coffee and stop the booze and stop the, everything. And just try for 3 or 4 weeks to just meditate every day. And I did. And amazingly, my panic went away. And I thought to myself, why does nobody know this? Like, why is no one practicing breath work and meditation? This is amazing, Why every time someone has mental illness, they have to go to the doctor and get a prescription, or they go through a therapy process where they've got to sit and go on a long journey of talking about their problems. And then I started to think, why aren't therapists teaching this stuff? Why are not psychologists and psychiatrists teaching this stuff? Why are doctors not teaching this stuff? And then I started to think about the pharmaceutical industry in a different way, in that they don't really want you to work your own stuff out, because it's bad for business. It's better for business that they got you buying stuff from them, or you get hooked on. And I don't want to knock pharmaceuticals. They have their place. I've been on antidepressants. I was on them about 2 years ago. Again, I found they didn't help me, but I was curious. I went on them because I was curious. I thought, is this going to really make a big difference in my life? I'm not a picture of good mental health. I actually suffer from mental illness. I have all sorts of things that go on. And I'm okay to talk about it. Because if it wasn't for mindfulness, I don't think I'd be alive. So mindfulness keeps me alive, and mindfulness keeps me going. And the more I practice, the better I feel. So I started the teacher training. I've been teaching in courses in the evening. I had an advertising job. The job was okay. I ran my own advertising company for a while. I was managing director. All the while, I was teaching in the evenings and on weekends until 2018, where a lady called Lisa Stead from Rand Merchant Bank, part of First Rand Group, came to me and said, could we do this corporate? Could we make this teacher training a corporate product? And I said, well, I don't know. Let's try. So she created a boardroom in Merchant Place in Sandton, and the boardroom was beautiful. And no one was allowed in the boardroom unless you were there for a meditation. And I couldn't believe it. I had to pinch myself. A meditation room in one of the biggest banks in the world. And I'm running it. I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe my luck. And I trained 10 people within Rand Merchant Bank. And the project was for those guys to lead meditations for their colleagues. So Vuso would open up at 8 in the morning and do a 20-minute meditation for people that would just come in. Sue would open up at 10. Craig would open up at 12. And Tembile would open up at 2:30. And it would be like that throughout the day. These champions, or mindful champions as we call them, or mindful ambassadors, now knew how to teach mindfulness or facilitate mindfulness and just hold space for their colleagues who were having a shit day. And it meant the world of difference to the people in the organization. And the people came not for therapy. They came not for good advice. They just came to be with others in silence and to take a break. And it was revolutionary. I like the name of the organization I work for, Mindful Revolution. We're going to get into that now. But it was revolutionary. So much so that Lisa, the organization development manager at RMB Bank, won the Innovation Award Prize for introducing me into the bank. And soon the entire organization of 70 to 80,000 people began to understand what mindfulness is. Then the pandemic hit in 2020, and they invited me on every single day. And I had between 600 and 700 people attending my classes in lockdown when they were sitting at home. Can you imagine that? I was teaching, in actual fact, I was teaching about 1,300 people, 1,400 people every single day. And I started my day at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I finished my day at 11, and I started again the next day at 4, and I did that for 4 months, every single day. And I burnt out. I burnt out badly, but it was incredible because people were interested. People were needing mental health support and mental health relief. This is the cover of Time magazine in 2014. It's called The Mindful Revolution. And it was about how mindfulness is spreading across the Western world in a secular way, and that science is supporting it, neuroscience, medical doctors. Everybody is saying that mindfulness is the new thing. Some people say it was a craze and that it will go away. It hasn't gone away. And in fact, it's never been a craze. It's always been with us. When people think of mindfulness, sometimes we think of India or the Himalayas. We think of yoga. It's got something to do with it, but it's so much more than that, right? Because if in every single culture, you will find mindfulness, whether it's in drumming, dancing, chanting, singing, ritual, you will find it, okay? We've just given it a fancy word and repackaged it, and that fancy word is mindfulness. But mindfulness has a connotation to it, okay? It's almost like when people hear it, they've got this image in their mind, and those images are probably most of the time incorrect. And we're gonna understand what mindfulness really is and understand it well. We're in a mental health revolution where we realize that we can look after our mental health in the same way that we can look after our dental health. Did you guys brush your teeth this morning? Let's have a look. Of course you brushed your teeth this morning, right? You're going to brush your teeth before you go to bed. And when did that start? You know, your mom or your dad stuck a toothbrush in your mouth, and you probably screamed and cried and hated it. But after a while, it became default to a point where you don't even think about it anymore. It's just something you do. So the revolution that we're in with regards to mindfulness is that after this program, it will be default behavior for you just to go into a mindful state, because it's good for your brain. I call it a mental floss, right? A mental floss. Because actually, the strange thing is, nobody's looking after their brain. Everybody's thinking somebody else will look after my brain. I'll take a pill and my brain will be okay. But your brain is a muscle just like the rest of your body. So how can you expect a muscle to perform if the muscle is not trained? If the muscle isn't exercised? It won't. How can you expect to have good mental health if you're not doing mental fitness or mental training? Okay, not possible. And I can't believe that the world has taken so long in terms of science and research for us to get to this point. We should have been here decades ago, hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And I do believe the Western world is catching up. But the nice thing about the Western world, and when I left the temple and I got married and had a kid, I started studying neuroscience. And neuroscience was just powerfully supportive and showing how the brain grows in all the right places if we practice mindfulness. And that was very inspiring for me. And that really made my work into the corporate space so much easier, because I went from being a Buddhist hippie to now putting on a suit and being able to stand in front of exco teams at some of the most major banking organizations. And some of my clients are on the call, so they can vouch for that. So yeah, if you told me I could make a living from teaching mindfulness 10 years ago, I'd say you're smoking some serious Zol, like there's no way. But it happened, and it's true. So I would love everyone, I'd love to see people teaching mindfulness all over the place. And some of my colleagues look at me sideways and they go, but you're giving all away our trade secrets to everybody else. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm just so passionate about it that I can't do this alone. And I need people to help me grow this in the world. Because can you imagine a world where we didn't brush our teeth? Like, just say we were really good at meditating. Imagine if it was reversed. Like, we were excellent at doing our 10-minute meditation in the morning, but you did not brush your teeth. And your company's complaining, the HR department's complaining, God, the boardroom smells so bad and people's teeth are very bad. Let's get the dentists in once a month and clean everyone's teeth. But that's not good enough. You can't expect the dentist to fix you once a month or once a week. You got to do it every single day. Okay? So, yeah, by the time you finish this program, if you don't do your morning meds, and I call it meds, right, meditation, you will feel different. It'll feel like you've left the house and you haven't brushed your teeth. That's how it's going to feel like. Okay? Your emotions are going to be a bit fuzzy. You're going to be a bit more reactive, more judgmental, and you'll wonder how you ever survived without your morning meds. I've got this prophecy that in the near future, I don't know, has anyone seen Black Mirror? It's this like mini series on Netflix. It's pretty awesome if you haven't seen it. It's like this weird sort of dystopian future, but not far in the future, quite nearby. Anyway, I have this idea that funny little hats like this will become a common occurrence. And let's say you go on, what's it? Oh yeah, Varuna, you've seen Black Mirror, cool, you love it. I love it too, especially the beginning, the season 1, season 2, very good. So I have this idea that you'll go on a date. You'll meet someone, for those of you that are single or whatever, you'll meet someone and you'll meet them for the first time at the restaurant. And you say, listen, before we order that bottle of wine, just put this on your head. And then you pull out your smartphone and you scan their brain. And then your smartphone's going, warning, 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 and it's like prefrontal cortex, totally underdeveloped. This person has no focus. This person struggles to make decisions. This person's executive functioning of their brain is very weak. Okay? Warning. Warning, this person's parietal region at the top of the brain is also very weak. There's no muscle there, which means that they lack in empathy. They're not training in empathy. And another warning, the insular to temporal pole on the side of the brain is also deteriorated, which means they're not extremely kind. They're not very kind. They're not very loving. And their amygdala, which is their fear center, is really pronounced. That means that they are highly reactive, highly emotional, and see everything as a threat. Would you date someone like that? No. Would you give someone like that a job? No. Okay, that's why I believe this technology is coming. But in actual fact, this technology is already here. Because neuroscientists, and we're going to be looking at who they are, can scan your brain and they can tell if you are practicing empathy, kindness, and focus techniques by the shape of your brain. And they can tell if you are not. Interesting, right? So the brain is this incredible machine, probably the most advanced thing in the universe. I don't know, maybe there's something more smart. People say AI is, I don't know, but that AI is just a copycat really. And the brain, I love this image because it's electrical. You know, we think of it as gray matter, but it's actually a very dynamic system of energy with 80 billion neurons. I don't know who counts them, but 80 billion neurons. How do they know? 80 billion neurons, and they're all kind of firing and wiring and talking to each other in this incredible complex process. It's quite miraculous. As you're listening to me, there's synapses and energy and electricity, and so much is going on right now in this moment in your head. And neuroscience have come up with a word called neuroplasticity. Has anybody heard this word before? Yeah. I put it into spell check in Microsoft Word, and it comes up as an error. Can you see the red line under neuroplasticity? That means it's an error. It doesn't even recognize the word. I thought, well, okay, Microsoft needs to, you know, get an education. Maybe they should come and do my program. But neuroplasticity literally means that your brain is like plastic. Okay, it's not plastic. Don't worry. But it's like plastic. Okay, it is shapeable, it is moldable, and it's changeable. And that's pretty awesome. My dad said to me, sorry, boy, you know, your brain is your brain and it won't change. He was wrong. The brain does change. And we can change it for the better. And that's good news, because it means that if there's something you want to change about your personality or your thoughts or the way your brain works, you can. You can. All right? But we are under massive threat. In fact, mindfulness now is needed more than any other time in the world. Why? Because we are always on and we are always distracted, and we are required to multitask. Why do people text and drive? Does anybody have an answer for this? Why do we do this? They say that texting and driving is the #1 killer on the road, even more than drinking and driving. Can you believe it? Why do we do this? We've all done it. Interesting campaign by BMW. Terrifying. How can you really, you know when someone's on their phone. You can see the way they drive. Stefan, when you're on your motorbike, you can tell, right? You can see if there's a driver that's on his phone. And it becomes a very dangerous situation, especially when you're on your bike. You can see them. Sometimes I want to punch their rear view mirror, you know, but then I think, no. That's not what we do as mindfulness people. We don't go punching people's rear view mirrors. But it's dangerous. It's very, very dangerous, this texting and driving. But technology is forcing us to do things that we don't even think about doing because we become slaves. Albert Einstein said that technology would turn us into zombies. He had a prophecy. He said it would make us dumb. And it's happening. So mindfulness is you could say it's the last stand in the face of technology. To take our life back and to bring some element of clarity, peace, and calm back in our lives. And we can make technology work for us rather than it being an enemy, you know. Einstein said, technology is going to be a wonderful servant, but a cruel master, you know. So I wonder how that sits with us today. Our nervous system is based on, there's two parts to our nervous system, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. So my friend here in the orange underpants, when he's triggered and he's in fight, flight, or freeze, he's in the sympathetic. And when he's relaxed and he's chilled, he's in the parasympathetic. I'm not going to go into it too much because that's a class in 2 weeks' time about the nervous system. But mindfulness is going to help us to stay in the parasympathetic, which is cool, calm, and collected. Because when we're in the sympathetic, we are a fighting machine. It's very good 10,000 years ago for invading tribes or wild animals, but not very good when you are in a Teams meeting or you're sitting in the boardroom. Not very good at all. Like when the headmaster comes into Kerry's office and she's trying to not strangle him to death, you know, because that's possible. You know, road rage, we see this every day. People losing their lives on the road, people getting angry, people doing crazy stuff, normal people like you and me, because they became a crocodile, because they moved into sympathetic nervous system state. This lady over here, her name is Sarah Lazar. She's a neuroscientist from Harvard University. We're going to be looking at some of her work, groundbreaking research, straight from Harvard, on brain density and the difference between people that practice mindfulness and people that don't. She's really interesting. Richard Davidson is the guy with the brown jacket and the very funky hairstyle. He is a neuroscientist and very famous neuroscientist, published quite a few books. The monk on the table on the MRI scanner, he's Mathieu Ricard, a famous meditator, and there's some remarkable findings after they scanned the brains of monks. Okay, people that have been meditating for years and hours every day. We're going to look into that. But let's have a look at the definition. Okay, mindfulness is paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and as non-judgmentally, non-reactively, and open-heartedly as possible. So when people ask you, what are you doing? And you say, I'm studying mindfulness with Mark, they go, okay, cool, what is mindfulness? Don't sit there at the dinner table with a mouthful of teeth. You're going to say, oh, mindfulness. It's paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and as non-judgmentally, non-reactively, and open-heartedly as possible. Bam! Nailed it. I'd like you all to memorize this definition. This definition, the entire program is based on this definition. Okay? We are always going to come back to this. The definition is coined by Dr. John Kabat-Zinn, who is a revolutionary in the field of mindfulness and started introducing mindfulness at the University of Massachusetts back in the 1980s. He started to do the body scan with his patients that were suffering from chronic pain and severe depression. The results, the healing results, were so remarkable that John published a book called Full Catastrophe Living. It's actually a manual. It's a difficult read, but he developed from there the mindfulness-based stress reduction program, the MBSR program. After John did that, the research and the extended research into mindfulness became exponential. So John is very, very important in the field of Western mindfulness. So I like to think of it as 4 Ps: paying attention, particular way, on purpose, and in the present. Pay, particular, purpose, and present. You got 4 Ps. What do we pay attention to? Our phone and our laptop. You know, we get 90 emails a day on average, and we check our phone on average every 4 minutes. That is the average statistic. How the hell can we pay attention to anything else if that's what we're doing? It's crazy. Paying attention, what are we paying attention to? So when we meditate, when we let's say we're reading a book, you pay attention to the words on the page, in a particular way. It's a book, and you're doing it on purpose. You're reading, and you're in the present moment. Because if you're thinking of other stuff, you're not reading the page, and you're not absorbing yourself in the story. Or you're doing a breath meditation. You're paying attention to your breath. It's a breath meditation. That's the particular way. You're doing it on purpose, and you're in the present moment. Guys, I'm going to ask a question now. How do people feel when they think of the future? Tomorrow, the next week. How do people feel? How do you feel? Or how have you felt when you think of the future? You're lying in bed and you're starting to think of things that haven't happened. How does it make you feel?
For me, I think it depends what I'm thinking of. Sometimes it will be a sense of excitement, and other times it might be a sense of apprehension.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's uncertain, yeah.
Sure. Absolutely. Thanks, Kerry. Internet saying excited with a tad of nervousness. Oriel, nervous for the unknown. Yeah. So when I ask this question, and I ask it a lot, about 95% of people tell me they feel anxious. They feel afraid. That's a normal answer. Because as human beings, we don't like uncertainty. We want to know what's going to happen. And a lot of the time we will time travel. I've come up with this term, time traveling zombies. Zombie is something that's not really alive. It's like the Walking Dead, you know. And time traveler, because we're very seldom in the present moment. We're either lost in the past or we're thinking of the future. And a lot of people tell me if they're stuck in the past, there's a sense of, oh, the old days were so good. I wish I could go back. Or I did some dumb things and I regret them and I can't fix them. You know, so we get stuck there too. In the here and the now is the best place to be for our mental health. Depression and anxiety are born out of the past and trying to live in the future. Okay? When I was anxious, when I was having my panic attacks, it was because I was thinking about the day ahead and all the things that could go wrong. And that was giving me major anxiety. So the present moment is very essential to meditation and mindfulness. Paying attention, particular way, on purpose, and in the present moment. Are there any comments or questions right now? You guys good? Okay. And then the last part of the definition, non-judgmentally, non-reactively, and open-heartedly as possible. You see, there's the attitudes. Open-hearted, non-judgmental, and non-reactive. Those are what we call the mindful attitudes. So let's say that you're reading a book. I'm going to use the book analogy because a lot of people don't think I think that reading a book is a very mindful activity, because you've got to keep your mind focused on one thing for a period of time. These days, people don't read as much as they used to, because we would rather watch 30-second video clips of dogs and cats doing funny things, right? All of these little videos on YouTube and LinkedIn and TikTok are really just bubble gum for the brain. There's no sustenance, there's no nutrients. And in actual fact, it's causing us more brain damage than anything. It's causing our children immense harm, because it's eroding our ability to focus. Microsoft have done a study which they published and gave to the advertising industry, and they're constantly telling the advertising world that the human race is dumbing down, that our ability to stay present and our ability to focus is deteriorating. So they keep telling advertisers, make your message as impactful and as short as possible, because the human race is getting dumber. They say that even a goldfish has more attention span than we do. I don't know. How do you measure that? I think it's just an analogy. Okay? So that's why mindfulness is essential. This is the cycle of mindfulness. You're paying attention to one thing. So let's say it's you are drinking a cup of coffee, and you decide that you're not going to look at your phone. You're just going to sip that coffee. You're going to smell it. You're going to feel the warmth of the mug, and you're going to enjoy it slowly in a mindful way. And as you decide to do that, your attention wanders to something else. Oh, I wonder what's that guy going to say in the meeting? Is he going to be like a complete asshole again? Or so your mind wanders to something else. Then you catch that, and you say, "Kom terug, come back to what I'm focusing on, my breath or my coffee." So anything can be a mindful anchor, but the process of bringing your attention back is what we call the cycle of mindfulness. Now, the interesting thing about that is every time you do that, you are affecting a part of your brain called the prefrontal cortex, which is pretty much what makes you human. And there's a part of that called the anterior cingulate cortex, which is very important too. And it regulates you. It regulates your emotions. So every time you say to yourself, "Kom terug, come back," you are building, literally building, growing that part of your brain. It's like doing a bicep curls for your arms. Every time you do one curl, you're building your arms. 2 curls, 3 curls, 4 curls. You keep going, you get big arms. Every time you bring your attention back to what you're focusing on, you're building your brain in the right way, which is cool. And now, to think about it, there's 2 parts of your brain, or your awareness. There's the devil and there's the angel. Okay, I don't like to say the devil and the angel. That's the analogy. The devil's on your shoulder and the angel on the other one, right? But there's 2 parts of your brain. There's the subjective mind and the objective mind. Think of the subjective mind as like a little puppy dog. Okay? It's very curious, it's naughty, and it sniffs around. The observer, the objective part of your mind, is the master of the dog trainer. So the dog is busy. It's walking around, sniffing. And what do? Come, boy, come back, come. All right? You got a subjective mind that is wandering around all over the place. You can't even focus your attention on your breath for 3 minutes without your subjective mind doing its thing. And the observer says, I see what you're doing. Come back. But the secret is never hit the puppy. Okay? Don't hurt the puppy. And that's the big mistake that meditators do. They get cross with themselves in meditation. And that's why John Kabat-Zinn says non-judgment, non-reactivity, and open-heartedness. It's a process. It's an intimate process with yourself. John Kabat-Zinn calls it the most intimate love affair with yourself. Because you're being so nice and so patient with your mind that appears to be completely mad. I remember in India when I was there, I was in the street and the street was so busy. And then I went to my hotel room at the top of the building, and then I'm looking over the balcony and I think to myself, how on earth was I down there in that chaos? So I'm in the chaos and it seems okay. But as soon as I observe it from a height, I wonder, it's just insane. And that's kind of like what we do. Like we're just living our lives and, it seems busy and our thoughts are busy and everything's busy. But as soon as we're sitting in meditation and we're watching, it's frightening. Because we look at it and we go, oh my gosh, I didn't realize my thoughts, my head was so busy. So that's why John says, guys, open heart for the process, non-judgment for the process, and non-reactivity. Because it's not easy to see when you sit with yourself. Okay? Any thoughts on that? So isn't it interesting? There's two parts of your mind. Science calls it meta-awareness, the ability to know what we are thinking. How is it possible to say that I'm out of my mind? Who is out of their mind? And where is the mind? And who is watching the mind? You say, oh, my mind is very busy today. Well, how do you know that? Who is saying that the mind is busy today? Is it another mind? Is one mind watching the other mind? Are there more than two minds? Are there multiple minds? Who's watching who? It's kind of like going down the rabbit hole with that idea. George Lucas from Star Wars says your focus determines your reality. Okay? I love this quote. So, what are we focusing on? I like what Stefan said earlier about his attitude. You could focus on your day being bad, or you could focus on your day being interesting, or your attitude towards it. And I guess that's the thing, right? What are we focusing on? What thoughts are floating through your mind, and where do they come from? Sometimes I think the mind is almost like a broken radio. You know those old radios? My grandpa used to have one with a big dial, and you could turn that dial, and it would sit on a station, and you'd have to tune it. It was quite cool. And sometimes I think our mind is like a a radio with a broken dial, that the dial is moving by itself. And then it flicks through radio channels. And then it comes, listens a little bit, and then it gets bored and it carries on going, looking for another channel. With mindfulness, we are able to hold that dial in place. What radio station would you like to listen to? What radio station would you like to stay on? Unfortunately, most of us don't have that ability. We would like to control our thoughts, our minds, but we don't have the fitness. It's like lifting 50 kgs above your head. You walk into the gym, you say to the trainer, that's what I want to do. They say, yeah, but why don't you start with 5? So you start with 5. Then you move on to 10. And then 6 months or 7 months down the line, everybody's cheering, yay, and you go 50. But if you walk into the gym the first time and try 50, you're going to hurt yourself. So, dear friends, when you start the practice of meditation, don't expect to clear your mind. Don't expect to have samadhi or complete union with your maker. Okay? Expect that it's going to be a process. And the process is the journey. Okay? There's no destination. And along the way, you might find yourself being able to focus more and more and more. I told you my mental health isn't fantastic. I went through a divorce. I've been separated from my wife now for 15 months. And there are times when I lie in bed and I just want to cry. I just ask myself, what has happened to my life after 15 years of marriage? Why am I in this place? And I can sink into a dark, dark hole. That I if I went there and I stayed there long enough, I just wouldn't come out. And I've never had such dark thoughts in my entire life. I suppose when my dad died, it was also pretty severe. And at the age of 51, I'm having to reinvent myself. I can't say I'm having fun, but it's interesting. Mindfulness has given me the ability to get out of the hole. So I might be in the hole for 5 minutes, and then eventually I'm like, come now, kom terug, get out. Let's think of something else. Let's shift our focus. Let's focus on something else, dude. I don't want to stay in this hole. And that, my friends, is why mindfulness is essential to your mental health. Because there are places that our minds can go that are so dark and so painful. And you can decide, I don't want to go there. And not just decide, but have the muscle in your prefrontal cortex and in your anterior cingulate cortex that is going to pull you out. That a neuroscientist can say, Oriel's brain is able to pull herself out of that dark place, out of hell. And you never know what's around the corner, right? No one ever thinks, I'm going to lose something I love like that. But it happens. And when it happens, are we ready? I've seen normal people just destroyed by life because it hit them so hard they could never recover. Let's make ourselves tougher than that, right? Interruption science. Again, distraction. We are interrupted every 11 minutes on average. That's a lot. We're going to look at interruption science from the University of California. External distractions, internal distractions. Internal distractions make up 47% of your total distractions. 47% of your distractions are internal. Do you know what that means? Between internal and external distractions, in a 9-hour working day, you are spending 2 hours either in distraction or recovering from distraction. That's 2 hours out of 9 hours. Did you know that? You don't even know it. We don't even know it. But that's according to Gloria Mark at the University of California. She does this for a living. She does the research on distraction and interruption science. So guys, have you all got this app? Anybody that doesn't have this app?
Me.
You don't have it, Veruna?
Me?
Oriel, you don't have it, okay?
No.
All right, no problem.
But we're gonna get it.
You're going to get it.
Yeah, immediately.
Immediately, yes. We're going
Agree.
we're going to download it. It's free. Don't get suckered into paying for it. Okay, there is an option. You just got to look for it, and then it's like on the homepage, free. Download the app, register, and you know what's cool? There are thousands and thousands of meditations on this app. Now, I'm on the app. I've got my own page, and on that page are my meditations. So every week, you're going to do a different practice. And all my practices are there. So what you're going to do for homework is to just listen. Okay? Then after 1 or 2 days, you can think, this Mark guy, his voice is so irritating. I'd rather not listen to him. Maybe I want to listen to somebody else. That's fine, you can. Or you have the option of the timer where there is no talking, where there's just a little bell in the beginning and you set it for 10 minutes or 15 or 20 minutes. You push the button and it goes ding, and then it's quiet. But it records you. It records your time. It is a timer. What it does then is every time you meditate or you do a mindfulness practice, it records your time and adds it to your collected time, your accumulated time. It would be nice if you did 200 hours as part of this course. You're never going to do 200 hours in 8 weeks or 14 weeks. It'll take you much longer. But eventually, when you do your 200 hours, you'll send me a screenshot and you'll say, Mark, I got my 200 hours. Now send me a certificate, you bastard. Okay? That's what you're going to do. And then you'll put that certificate on your wall and you'll say, I've done the 200 hours as part of my training. And I got my certificate. And if you're going to teach back, then it's going to say on your certificate, I did the teach back with live evaluation and I passed. So there's 2 certificates, one for people that are doing the 8 weeks for 200 hours, and the other is for those that are doing the 200 hours plus the teach back. It's a cool app. Don't worry about it now. In the morning, I will, I'm going to create a WhatsApp group, if you're all okay with that. During the day, I'm going to send you 1 or 2 messages. I'm also going to send you videos that I've recorded with instructions for the homework of the day. And if you forget to do your homework, you'll look at your phone and go, oh yeah, now's the time to do my mindful coffee. I forgot. Thanks, Mark, for reminding me. Okay? If I don't have your number, please send me a WhatsApp saying, hey, Mark, add me to the WhatsApp group. There's my number. Okay? Add me to the WhatsApp group. Send me a message. You can send it now if you like. Say, add me to the WhatsApp group. And I will. I'm not sure I got all your numbers. So that would really help. And then that group, we're not going to be like, oh, happy birthday, Kerry. Happy birthday and, you know, happy Easter. We're not going to be sharing messages. We're not going to bomb each other with spam and pictures of your cat. The only person that's going to post is me and me alone. Okay? Once we finish the 8 weeks and it opens up to the teacher training, then we will open the group because you can then use it for your teach backs, etc. Are there any questions about the app, Insight Timer? Are you happy to use an app? Okay. You don't have to use the app if you don't want to. You can also keep a logbook of your meditations and do it that way. Some of my students have been quite old and they keep on asking me, how do I log in? Like the most basic things that they just can't get right. Shame. So I just say, don't worry about the app, madam. Just use the book, you know, a journal. Okay. Journaling is the next thing. A book. Getting a book or an app that you can write down. The heading is non-reactivity. Where do I get that from? From the attitudes. See the first one, non-reactivity. Every day, we're going to write down non-reactivity. How did you do with your reactivity? Did you lose your head, or did you flip your mur? What do they call it? Flip your, can't remember. Did you lose it in traffic, or did you manage to stay composed? Positive is to be response able. Negative, to be reactive. This is not a judgment exercise. It is just a tracking. Okay? Strip your moer. That's it, Antoinette. Thank you. I forgot. Strip your moer. Thanks for reminding me. I knew it was strip. Flip your moer. Strip your moer. Strip. There we go. Did you strip your moer? Flip your shit. Okay. That's the translation. Oh, I love it. Okay. Good. Did you strip your moer? You could also put there, strip your moer tracking if you want. Okay. So that's your homework, plus a coffee or a tea every day. And that means when you drink it, you're going to sit somewhere with no distractions, if possible, and you're just going to sip your coffee or your tea mindfully. And I'm going to send you another instruction video on what that looks like as well. So don't preempt the homework. You will get the homework in the right time, at the right time of the day. Okay? You don't have to worry too much. You don't have to write down too much. I'm going to hand it all over to you on a silver platter. I will also send you emails with research papers, scientific research papers on mindfulness that you can read. I swear I've got a spook in this house. My staircase, every now and again I can hear someone walking up the staircase. It's like the weirdest thing. So, and I've just moved in here. So yeah, anybody knows Ghostbusters, let me know. I'm sure they're friendly. What was I going to say before the ghost interrupted me?
Research papers.
Sorry?
Research papers?
Yes,
You're talking
research
about
papers.
research papers.
Yes. So for those of you that like to read and spend time on some hardcore evidence, I will send that through to you as well. But there's 3 components to homework: journal, your daily meditation, and mindful moments, what I call mimos, mindful moments. All 3 of these are important. And all 3 of these, this is what we will check in with each other around every week at the beginning of the class. What's cool is that once we've made friends on Insight Timer, I can literally go into your profile and see if you did your morning meditation or not. And if you didn't do your morning meditation, I'm going to send you a message. And I'm going to say, why did you not do your morning meditation? Okay, I might not do that every day, but I am going to be spying on you. Like a coach, right? Like a coach. You must understand, mindfulness is like swimming. Are there any swimmers here? No swimmers. Okay. Swimming's fun. So, like Chad Leclos, I mean, he's a great swimmer, Olympic swimmer. Do you think Chad needs a degree in swimming? No. Okay. It's good to study swimming. I'm sure he has. But Chad jumps in the pool, and that's how Chad gets good at swimming, right? You can study mindfulness if you want to. That's very good. But there's nothing like just doing the practice. Dr. John Kabat-Zinn talks about going to a restaurant, and a person would look at the menu, and the waiter would come and say, "May I take your order?" And the person looks at the waiter and says, "No, I know exactly what you guys are serving." And the waiter looks puzzled and says, "But you haven't tried the creme brulee. That's so what?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, but I know what it is." He says, "But you haven't tried ours." It's the same. You've got to taste it. You've got to eat it. You can't just look at the menu. Okay? So these classes are really a small part of the training. Very small. The real work is when you get up in the morning or you make time during your day to do 10 minutes or 15 minutes of journal and sitting. And I'd like you to do more. But if 10 minutes is all you can do, then that's at least a start. Okay? After a while, some of my students are doing 30, 40 minutes a day to an hour. Okay? Because they like it. Because they feel good afterwards. I like this one. This sort of really, you see, this is the difference between subjective and observer. Remember I was talking about that. Subjective mind, I'm not coping with this. Observer mind is saying, oh, look, I noticed that I'm having a thought that I'm not coping with this. The other morning I lay in bed and I thought to myself, everything is such a mess. In my darkness, I said, everything is such a mess. And then Marky, the other part of Marky said, oh, look, I noticed that I'm having a thought that everything is a mess. Everything's not a mess. It's just my subjective mind that's making it a mess. You see? And that is the secret to our mental health, dear friends. To get out of that subjective mind and not identify with it. You see? But how do we do it? It takes work. And that's the real work. That's the work you're going to embark on. So please, I'd like to do that WhatsApp group. Please WhatsApp me tonight. You've got my number. Please add me to the group. All right? Then tomorrow morning, I can share the homework with you. Here's an example of the certificates. Kiasha, your mom's name's on it. Isn't that cool?
That is very cool, Mark.
It's no coincidence. This is a dear friend of mine and a wonderful person. And Devaksha did a teacher training quite a long time ago. Finished the teacher training with competent live practical evaluation and 200 hours of practice. And is phenomenal in introducing mindfulness into the corporate space. So proud of her. The program is CETA accredited, and if you're a medical professional, you get 14 CPD points recognized by the Health Professions Council South Africa. So it's basically recognized medical program. How on earth we got that right, I don't know. But I'm so proud. And my sister helped me to get that over the line. I think that's it, guys. Are there any questions? There must be a question or two or a comment or two around the program. Did I cover everything? Nice, Oriel. Play your didgeridoo. Yeah.
Mark, just a question with the app. If you do anything, does it automatically update or do you need to do something for it to register?
No, automatically, Oriel. And here's another point. You can use your timer. I really recommend just playing around with it, guys. And if you're confused about how it works, please contact me. Even if you feel silly, there's no silly questions. Okay, just contact me. Say, Mark, I'm struggling with the app. I don't know, blah blah blah. The interesting thing is, if you do a yoga class and it's an hour long, put your timer on. If you are doing anything, okay, now listen carefully, as Zuma would say, listen carefully. If you do anything where you are paying attention in a particular way, on purpose and in the present moment, with non-judgment, non-reactivity, and open-heartedness, that is mindfulness. I know Antoinette, she plays with singing bowls, plays her music. That's mindfulness. She's doing it in this way. Antoinette is a painter. Antoinette, is that one of your pieces behind you?
It's an old piece,
Yeah.
but it was actually particularly mindfully done because the bees were like painted and cut out, and behind each bee I wrote like an intention and like a whole message, and then I glued it on. So like it was actually particularly mindfully done. Everything was like, yeah.
It's beautiful. It
Thank
really
you.
is stunning. So let's say Antoinette's
Thank you.
working on a new bit of artwork, right? She could put her timer on when she's doing that. Okay? Is there anything like something else? Maybe gardening. What other activities would you consider to be mindful? And we can talk about it now. And you can put your timer on when you're doing it. Before you know it, you could be clocking up a couple of hours, You could go to gym mindfully. You could go for a walk mindfully. You could go for a run mindfully. But you've got to be honest with yourself. Some people say, Mark, can I watch Netflix mindfully? Of course you can. My son can't even watch a movie without looking at his phone and missing half the movie. I had a meeting with my ex yesterday. I said, this is a big problem. You know, we're going to have to ban him from looking at his phone. If we're going to watch a movie with him, he's not allowed to look at his phone. You can see it. The kids are suffering. So you can watch a movie mindfully, but I'd prefer that's not a formal mindfulness practice. Okay? I'd rather we make it more intentional and set the time aside to say this is a mindful practice and not just entertainment, if you know what I mean. Okay. More formal. Got to make it a little bit more strict than that. Maybe even your prayer, if you pray, if you read the Bible, if you read sacred scripture, why not? You're keeping your mind on those words, you're reading them again and again. That could be a memorization, a study. Why not? Okay? Got no problem with that. All right, I think I've cleared that up. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Good. Super. Thanks, everybody. Every class will be recorded. If you do happen to miss a class, you can catch it up in the recording. And if you would prefer a one-on-one because you'd like to interact with me because you missed out, that's fine. I'll make time for you, but before the next class. When it comes to your teach back, I will sit with you and help you build your content and your format and flow for that. So don't be freaked out. Don't be afraid of when it comes to that you're going to be left in the dark. Okay? Your teach back, when it comes, will be uniquely yours. As if you've decided to, I know Kerry works at a school, so maybe she might be teaching to a class of teenagers or something, just saying. It's got to be relative to your life and how will you use it to, or share it. Maybe it's just meeting a friend at Starbucks and telling them about mindfulness, and it might help them with their depression or their grief, their anxiety, etc. That's teaching too. Yeah. Okay, guys, all happy? Super. We'll see you next week, same time, and start the homework. Next week, I might ask one of you to recite the definition. Okay? It's just that important. If you find that you're struggling to get into your practice this week, that's fine. I'm not going to be too hard on you in the first week. Next week, I'm not going to give any theory. Next week, I want to hear your journey. Each of you will have 5 minutes to talk about your mental health journey and how you came to mindfulness. Okay? Because it's nice to get to know you. We're going to travel this journey together. I think each of us would be good just to hear about each of your life and how you got here. I know for some of you that sounds terrifying. That's fine. You can just talk a little bit. You don't have to be too vulnerable if you don't want to. Don't get into a panic, you know. You can just keep it. But if you're planning on becoming a facilitator and teaching this stuff, you've got to dig a little bit deeper. Because I find some of the best teachers are the ones that are able to be vulnerable and to share a little bit of their soul, you know. So it doesn't, you know, anyway, we're just looking forward to getting to know you and making new friends, so that when we do check in the upcoming weeks, at least we know your background and we know a little bit about you and your life, right? So next week is just very informal. Grab a cup of tea or coffee, and we're just gonna. It's better than Netflix because you get to hear all these different stories in one go, you know. Okay. Good stuff. Thank you, everybody, for attending. And yeah, have a good rest of your evening. And excited, happy, grateful. Yeah.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, bye. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Mark.
much, Mark.
Cheers, guys. See you later.
Bye.
Bye now.
Thanks.